All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave back again, talking about real music, at least I think, and doing it real time for a couple of real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, here's Voyage because it's the best, and I like promoting it. And there's nothing better this year. This is Inception. If you haven't heard it, if you're a Journey fan, a Boston fan, a fan of melodic rock, a fan of written songs, it's all right here. And it is selling out, according to the people over at Frontiers Music. So if you want a copy, better get one soon before, because who knows how many CDs they're going to make. People don't typically buy CDs anymore. Speaking of CDs I once owned, I used to have a copy of Permanent Vacation by Aerosmith. And apparently, I was way ahead of my time back in 1987, 1988. According to Desmond Child, he says, Dude Looks Like a Lady carries a message that's more valid today than when the track was released in 1987. Now, what did you think the song was about in 1987? Maybe discovering that the person that you were with wasn't who you thought they were. Anyway, I will give you some of the punchlines in this article, which to me are really scary. It's a scary kind of revisionist look at a song that, quite honestly, was comical, but now I think they're taking it seriously, right? This was the first piece of music that Desmond Child worked on after being sent to help assemble Permanent Vacation. Translation: the band had run out of ideas and they needed a songwriter to kind of get things going. In a new episode of the Kenny Aronoff Sessions, he told the drummer that Steven Tyler and Joe Perry didn't even introduce themselves before asking his opinion on the track, which was originally inspired by Vince Neil. Vince Neil is not a lady, but he looks like a lady, right? At least in those days. And maybe he still does to some degree. Depends. Well, he tells this story about going to Boston. He goes to this big warehouse type place, looks like an airplane hangar. It's an interesting story, but anyway, he said, Come with me. This is Steven Tyler. Desmond Child hadn't said hello. They were working on the side of the stage with the sound man, and Joe had been taping this backward guitar. Then Steven started singing Cruising for the Ladies. They stopped and they said, What do you think about that? It wasn't like, Hello, Desmond, this is Joe. And I took a shot. I said, I think that's really bad. Okay. Well, you know what's weird is if you're listening to Aerosmith, you're probably cruising for the ladies, especially back in the late 1980s and probably in the 70s. So I don't understand why that is really bad. But Desmond Child is a songwriter and he's had a good amount of success. He decided to push a little further in the hope of reaction, saying, I don't think Van Halen would put that on the B side of their worst record. No, I mean, like, what is that? Top down cruising for the ladies, he added. I mean, these guys were like mature guys. What are you? They're mature guys, huh? Child recalled the musician's responses. Joe just crossed his arms and set his head back, looking at me sideways. Then Steven, who's more of a people pleaser, said, Well, originally I was singing Dude Looks Like a Lady. And Desmond says, Well, that's a hit title. Joe said, We don't know what that means. And I said, Well, I know what that means. This is Desmond Child. He said, Well, we don't want to offend the gay community. And I said, I'm gay, taking no offense here. So apparently Desmond Child is gay. I did not know that. Anyway, Child said his point, as with every song he writes, was that a title should set up an intriguing story, and that Cruising for the Ladies didn't do that. No, of course not. It had done that like 4 million times prior, so why do it again? While Dude Looks Like a Lady did. Now, personally, I'll admit that Dude Looks Like a Lady is an interesting title. The whole premise was that he goes into this bar and falls in love with this stripper. But then she pulls out a gun and tries to blow him away. Well, that's a pretty good storyline, right? It's interesting. He explained, then the second verse goes, never judge a book by its cover or who you're going to love by your lover, which to me is the epic statement of all time. Now, here's Desmond Child, because look at us 37 years later, and we're talking about this. Who's binary, non-binary, trans, identify with this, identify, don't want to be pegged as anything. So really, Dude Looks Like a Lady was like a precursor to all of this craziness that we have now. Man, I don't even know if I want to listen to the song anymore. I mean, I don't dislike the song, but I mean, look, there's an appropriate song which came out not too long after Dude Looks Like a Lady. And it's by a guy who made it big really with just 2 songs. One of them was Wild Thing, and the other one was Funky Cold Medina. All right. And I like maybe 3 or 4 rap songs in my entire life, and Tone Loc has 2 of them. Now, I'm not saying, I go back and listen to these songs all the time, but Funky Cold Medina, the premise was, hey, he pays for this lady, right? And the lady turns out to be a man. And what does Tone Loc do? Well, in the song, he says, ain't no plans with a man. Those were the good old days. Those were the good old days, people. Well, that's offensive. Well, look, in this case, if you don't identify as any of those things and you are expecting a woman, it's not offensive to complain about the fact that that person didn't turn out to be a woman. Now, this is what Desmond Child says here. The whole message of the song is, if you like what it looks like, go for it. Go for it. Just if it looks good, just go for it. My funky lady, I like it, like it, like it, like that. So Steven Tyler doesn't run away. He stays. It's all good. He likes what he likes. Now, looking back on it, do you see how forward it was or how backward it is? And that song still stands today. All right, here's the deal. Most guys cruising down the road, and women too, listening to that song thinking, oh, this dude looks like a lady. It didn't turn out the way it was supposed to turn out. But because Tyler says, I like it, I like that funky lady. Maybe it really was a lady, but the dude looks like a lady, and you can say dude in a generic sense, like, dude, you kind of look like a lady, right? And if it's a lady, then it might be insulting, but people will use dude in a very generic way. And that's how I interpreted the song, Dude Looks Like a Lady. And so he stayed with her. He stayed with her. So that's cool. Whereas Tone Loc decided he didn't have any plans with a man. That's what he said. Ain't no plans with a man. And there's a difference between the 2 songs. Now, this is all just for entertainment value at this point here, because again, most people are just not that into the song lyrics. Most guys I know, they don't pay attention to lyrics half the time. Some do. But look, I have no problem if you're on the other team and you're pursuing the other team and it turns out that it's not the team that you usually pursue. But see, Desmond Child is making this claim, hey, that's why we're all like non-binary now. That way you can play for any team, you can like any team, and it's all good. It's all the same. That's really forward thinking. So there you have it. Dude Looks Like a Lady, brought to the year 2023. And now as Paul Harvey would say, you know the rest of the story. All right, before just I don't get what the world is up to at this point. It's liberating, it's groundbreaking. No, it's insanity. How's that? Pushback. I don't like it. Right? Cruising for the ladies would have been fine. Wouldn't have been as interesting, Dave. The video wouldn't have been as good, and we don't know that, do we? Anyway, here's Voyage Inception. This is all quality music. You're not going to misinterpret any lyrics here. All right. Makes a great holiday gift, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're doing out there. Please pray for peace in the Middle East and around the world. That's the best we can do. I don't care what team you're on. This video is all about how I really don't care what team you're on. But if you show up for something and you're expecting a member of your own team and it turns out to be someone else, that might be a problem.